Morbius in the MCU sets up Marvel's Blade movie. That's a headline on today's NBA Heroes.
Yes, Stephen, it's coming in from Screen Rant. They have been pondering that fine and dandy little question. Is the Morbius movie, obviously starring Jared Leto, going to be setting up the Marvel Blade movie? Now, I personally don't know because I am not privy to these details, but that's why we're going to discuss it, Stephen. That's the whole purpose of our show, to try and break down and give our opinion on it. Now, what do you make of this, Stephen? Obviously, Morbius is a vampire. He is a self-made vampire without any of that paranormal, unnatural element which the real vampires obviously have. That's what their raison d'etre is. Could this be a neat little way for Marvel, Disney to sidestep the need to reveal vampires in their own universe? They've done a sort of back street deal with Sony. They introduce vampires through Morbius and then they interconnect that in with the Blade movie. Could that be a nice little way to sidestep this? And do you think this is what they have intended? These two studios, do you think it will work? Two characters which traditionally have some interactions in the comics.
I think it's a convenience, John, more than anything. I think it's just one of these happy accidents. We've been talking about Morbius for the last 2 years now, I would say. Obviously Sony are pushing him, this character. We all want to see him. Obviously, with the box office success of Venom, that was the green light to obviously push forward with this project. On the other hand, Kevin Feige and the gang are very clever. They like to plan ahead, and Blade is one of these well-known characters that they've probably had up their sleeve for a very long time, waiting for the right opportunity to utilise him. This is a perfect opportunity. I'm not saying that this is the reason Morbius is, being made as a film.
Yeah.
I don't think that in any way. I think the character is interesting enough. It's also another one of Spider-Man's villains. So Sony, from their point of view, I think are laying down the groundwork for their own universe. When eventually Spider-Man does go back over to them, it's going to come. Better prepare yourselves. It is going to come, and they're going to have these characters all lined up waiting to take on the web slinger.
And Stephen, I think this again will probably just confirm that Blade isn't going to be a sort of interconnected MCU movie in a sense. I don't envisage this movie being like a 4. We'll have numerous installments. I think it'll be a one and done. I'm pretty damn sure Mahershala Ali had this in his head, the idea behind the script. He contacted Kevin Feige, and then they came together to an agreement to make this movie. And obviously the way it was tacked on at the end of the Comic-Con 2019 panel, it didn't feel like it was part. I think it's almost deliberate. That's like a visual metaphor of what this movie is. It's not really a part of the MCU. I think it'll be a standalone movie, and I think that's why they can circumvent the traditional no bleeding over between universes with Morbius coming in and interconnecting with Blade, because I don't think Blade will be part of the MCU. Kevin Feige's been adamant that he doesn't want horror elements, out and out horror stories being part of the MCU. That's why Scott Derrickson left, obviously, Multiverse of Madness. So I think we'll see horror elements in the Multiverse of Madness, if I can speak.
Yep.
Way too many M's in there. And I think we'll see a more traditional horror heavy movie with Blade, much different. Almost like a Joker in the Marvel side of things, and we can see a Morbius coming over. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see bleeding over between these two universes, because as we've said before, time and again, Sony hold all of the great Spider-Man villains, the likes of Mysterio, who's dead now, or is he? Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin. There's a whole array of different interesting characters in there, including Morbius. And I'd like to see award-winning, Oscar-caliber actors like Tom Hardy and Jared Leto stepping over to the MCU, even if it's briefly. But I don't think it will happen. I think they will bleed over, because we did see that little Easter egg at the end of the trailer with Michael Keaton's Vulture character popping up. So that is a clear connection right away. And I'm kind of contradicting myself, because he is in Spider-Man Homecoming, but Spider-Man Homecoming is obviously a Sony property anyway, with slight connections to, well, it's part of the MCU, but it's a Sony property. It's not a Disney Marvel out and out controlled property. So I think we will see them blending over, but I don't think it will be part of the MCU. So I think that's a little bit misleading. I don't see it being MCU, but look, I want to see what the movie's going to be like first. How Jared Leto's going to portray this character. He's a very, very interesting character. Obviously has a blood disorder, he's dying, he's emaciated, and then he finds a way to circumvent this illness. He starts feeding on blood, he becomes almost like a living vampire. I think that's what his name is in actual fact, the living vampire. And then also just seeing him flexing his muscles in another superhero character, obviously it wasn't to be with Joker, where he can take that, and then if they want to connect it, if it's a success like Venom was, who knows what the possibilities are. I'm on board for it though.
Exactly, John, and it's been stated time and time again that they don't want to go down the horror route, the MCU, that is. As well, I mean, this headline, setting up a Blade movie, I don't think Blade needs another character to set up his own film. No. He's an established character, and if you're going down that road, it's like a one-trick pony then, they're going to have to do a bit more with this Blade character, I think. But I think you're right, John. I think it's going to be, although part of the MCU, more of the outskirts of the sort of world, if you like. I don't think he's going to really be interacting with, I don't think he's want to join up and be one of the Avengers or anything like that. But he's going to be part of that. He might be a man of mystery. I don't know. It depends on how they're going to portray it. It's going to be an assassin, very much like Clint Barton, I think. So I just don't know. I'm interested to see this film Morbius first and foremost, and see what they do with that. It's you've got Jared Leto in there as well. And skipping by obviously his experience on the Suicide Squad. You can forgive him for that. Once you read into it and see the way character was handled by the studio as well, and the interference, it wasn't all his fault, and he's a great actor, and I can't wait to see what he does in this role.
Absolutely, Stephen. Look, the final thing I would add, they do say that Morbius was lined up to be the primary villain in Blade 2, but it never happened. They couldn't combine with the studios.
I think they will meet, John, but that's the thing, I don't think there's a big enough story there. It's like doing Batman and Joker time and time again. You can't keep doing that,
Yeah, look, Stephen, I ain't get much more to add. I think it will happen. I think there'll be a crossover. I think it's been established in the trailer, but just not in the MCU. I think just the way it's been handled, the way that Mahershala Ali stepped forward to propose this movie, I think it's almost like Todd Phillips, Joaquin Phoenix, Joker meets Marvel. They're doing a standalone thing, which will have little connections with the Sony universe. But Kevin Feige's very particular about his Marvel Cinematic Universe, and who could blame him? But look, guys, what the hell do you make of that anyway? I ain't get much more to add. We'll move on to the next topic. It's interconnected to Spider-Man once again. It's Spider-Man 3. Here's when and where Tom Holland's, I was about to say Tom Holland, why? His movie will film.
Yes,
film, yes. I always sound like Alec Guinness when I say that. Film. Evil. And they are suggesting, Stephen, that this movie will be shot in such locations as Atlanta, New York. I think they go on to say, was it LA?
Yeah.
And then the most interesting one, Iceland.
Yeah.
Now, I have no earthly reason for understanding what the logic is behind perhaps going to Iceland to shoot a Spider-Man movie. There is nothing high there. It's just geysers and maybe little mounds of volcanic hardened lava. There's nothing for him to do there. Could this be, they are suggesting on Cinema Blend, a link to Craven, who is a primary antagonist to Peter Parker in the comics, who has been hinted at apparently before, and that this could be maybe a way of them introducing Sony, that is the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
Would Marvel again allow that to happen? This is the MCU. I don't know, but as you did say,
this
Steve,
might have been the creases they had to iron out
and
at the end of last year, John, with both studios clashing. I think I don't know how far. Obviously, we're going to get these interconnecting sort of droplets of information, that are going to benefit one studio, not the other. But it's happening in that other studio, which is bizarre. It might be. I've always said this. It's to a point. Sony hold all the ace cards with the Spider-Man character. They own him, they own the character, but they know they've got a bigger platform with the MCU, but that's all the MCU have got to offer them. Spider-Man is probably, dare I say it, the biggest character that Marvel ever created. I'm going to say it, John, I think he is.
I don't think many people would argue with that, Stephen. You think of Marvel, your mind immediately goes to Hulk, Spider-Man. That's the two that I think of right away. Maybe the hardcore comic book fans from back in the day will go to the likes of Doctor Strange, who was incredibly powerful back in the early days of the comics before consistently being neutered again and again. Most people nowadays think of Iron Man and whatnot, but Spider-Man has always been the big name. He's like the Superman or Batman of Marvel. So yeah, they certainly don't need the MCU, I don't think. Sony, if you look at their history, we spoke about it numerous times.
Yep, okay,
you could argue 2 bad movies out of how many?
5.
5 movies. And they've certainly got their fingerprints on 2 of the greatest Spider-Man movies ever created, with no ties to the MCU. So they don't need the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a sense, but they've probably just used them to bring the profile of the character back up after the Amazing Spider-Man 2. And then they're just biding their time until the deal sells. And then, like you said, Stephen, the Sinister Six could be set up, and then once this deal expires with the MCU, they bring Tom Holland over with all of the gang, and then they bring him right into a clash with the Sinister Six. I think that's
what's going to happen, John. I think that's at the point Sony need the MCU or Marvel. They need that platform, yes, exactly. Audience. You know, to accept these, I don't want to say lesser known characters. They're obviously well known within the comic book community, you know, but cinematically, we don't know who they are. We don't know too much about them unless you have read the comics. I'm talking about obviously layman's. So this is a perfect opportunity for both studios to benefit here. Sony get all these characters on a higher platform, unknown to an extent, and obviously Marvel get the benefit of using Spider-Man in their MCU. So it's a win-win, and I'm interested to see this Sinister Six as well, John. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. This is something that's been spoken about for years upon years. We've never really got to see it on the screen. It feels now that we're in the golden age of superhero movies. The technology is there to harness it. I'd love to see it. I don't care who does it. Whether it's Kevin Feige in the MCU, Disney, Marvel, whatever you want to call it, or whether it's Sony, perhaps with, what the hell are they called? The 2 guys that get kicked off of Soul, and then they were involved in producing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I always forget their goddamn names. Shocking, doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about. 2 directors. If it's them involved through the Sony universe, then that would be great as well. But
Miller,
Chris, Lord and Miller. Yeah,
Lord
that's
Miller,
it. Yeah. I'm not going to say their first names. I used to get them all discombobulated. I don't like saying those guys.
I was about to say Miller and Carter, John. That's a totally different thing.
Yes, I wish I went to Miller and Carter, Stephen. They do the best steaks in Glasgow for me. I'm sorry. Screw that. What was it? Grill in the corner or something? No, that's a completely different thing we're talking about anyway here. I digress.
That's our own little universe.
Yes, we're not talking about fillet steaks here. Craven, Stephen. Craven is the final thing I'll get into. He sounds like a very different villain. A guy who has got a strange code of honour. They say he
a strange fashion sense as well, no?
Yes,
wow.
He has indeed. But he put Spider-Man in a coma once just to prove that he was better than him. He's, I think, injecting himself with strange serum and whatnot, so he has similar unnatural powers as Spider-Man. So he seems like a very interesting character.
He's got connections to another Spider-Man villain, Chameleon. I think he's his half brother. So
and slight connections to Wakanda. So we could see some interconnecting through Black Panther as well. So all the signs point to Iceland being the home place of perhaps a Craven, or just the breeding ground.
I mean, I'm assuming, John, I've read the article, but I'm assuming there's nothing in motion yet with this character. This is speculation at the moment, so
speculation.
We can't even talk about possible casting for the role, because obviously the part of throwing in the sort of background of Wakanda's that opens up a wee bit more as well. But I think it's interesting, John. I think it's another character we might see that Sony might introduce in some fashion. And again, I think it's probably been part of the discussions between both the studios. I think Sony have pushed Marvel to a point where they've said, we want you to utilise these characters here, such and such, put them in for so many minutes, give them an appearance somewhere,
and we'll give you a tiny little bit more percentage of also the grossings in exchange. Stephen, look, I just can't wait to see Spider-Man 3. I've really enjoyed Spider-Man, not Spanderman.
Spandex Man.
I've had 5 hours sleep. I'm dying, I swear to God. I've really enjoyed Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home. Eric Spiderman, I said that so quickly there. So I can't wait to see the 3rd movie. Apparently, perhaps going into production late this year, releasing next year. So look, it's very exciting times for Spider-Man fans, for Tom Holland fans. But I'm going to move on. I ain't got much more to say about that. And we're going to be speaking about Robert Pattinson, Stephen. Now, I've already spoke about this particular subject. You weren't there at the time, so I want to get your take on it, see if you agree with me or whether you disagree. It's all about him still looking super skinny.
Yeah.
And is this a problem for Batman moving forward? Now, they have says, and they've got this from, I think, someone on Instagram posting a photo up. It was a fan, and he does look a little skinny, but look, he's 6 foot. And I said before, I don't give a shit about this man. We've seen Zachary Levi, I think he's 6'3", 4. He's like a goddamn rake, and he used some beefed up suits and whatnot. He did a little bit of training. I didn't care about it. He's a younger version of Batman, still learning the ways of being Batman. He can be leaner, and then obviously incrementally bulk up as the years go on. So I've got no issues with it. They can do things with his suit. But what's your thoughts on it? Do you think he's still being super skinny is an issue for his portrayal in the upcoming Batman?
Batman's always had weight issues, John. As you know, Christian Bale, put too much weight on. This was after, I think, on the back of The Machinist.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Where he bulked up too much and then had to lose the weight. And you can see it, you could see it on the film in those early sort of
I tell you, Stephen, I'd rather
sequences.
be like Christian Bale in Batman Begins than The Machinist.
Well, I think, exactly, John. He makes Robert Pattinson look fat. That's saying something. But I think I don't think it's a big issue, John. To be honest with you, Christian Bale, once he levelled out, it was a very lean guy. You remember when he did the press ups as he came out of his bed, drank his green juice, whatever it was. Very lean. Yeah. He didn't have to bulk up. I think that's one of the things. You've got to remember that people are thinking directly of obviously Ben Affleck's version of him, very bulked up, and I think Ben Affleck's about 6'4", 6'4".
Like that, very big guy.
He's a lot taller than obviously Robert Pattinson, so he can carry it. But I don't have a problem with it, John, because as you said, I don't really want them to go down the road of a muscle suit in the sort of vein of that character. That was a bit cartoonish. It's not an issue though. They can do these things with these suits now anyway.
They can put bat nipples on the suit and no one will care.
As they're not going to put somebody like Hayden Christensen in a Vader suit, which looked terrible.
No, that was terrible because Hayden was 6 foot, wearing stilettos essentially, but David Prowse was 6'9", wearing big boots, and he was a bodybuilder. Yeah. So, Jesus Christ, man. Hayden was an okay size guy. He's big, but he's not David Prowse big, so that was jarring. It was glaring.
Terrible, yeah.
This is a different thing. We're not really comparing them to, but we shouldn't be comparing them to Ben Affleck.
Listen, we've not got a Force Friday show now, John, so I've got to talk about Star Wars any way I can. But you're right. I think they've got the right man. Let's just move on, because at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be super bulky or anything like that. In fact, it doesn't come as part of the makeup of the character. You look at the likes of Val Kilmer, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton's height as well. We've got to take into account.
Someone said in the comment section of this article, Stephen, Michael Keaton. Think of him, he's arguably one of the greatest Bruce Wayne Batmans of all time. 5'9",
he's not got the muscles, he's not got the height.
It wasn't that big,
but he was great.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter.
And Robert Pattinson will be great as well. I can assure you.
Sincerely hope so, Stephen. I've not seen the Lighthouse yet. It's still not out here. Not till late January, so still waiting. But I know the guy's an actor, and I cannot wait, if this is true, to see him running around Glasgow city centre with a Batman suit on. Apparently, it's not been revealed yet. Yeah. They're still building the suit to his specifications, so Jesus Christ.
Just another Saturday night in Glasgow.
Just another Saturday night. Some homeless guy saying, big issue. And Robert Pattinson getting up and saying, hey, freeze, I'm Batman. So there you go. That's what I'm looking forward to. I will be out in Glasgow. I need to see this, man. I have to see it. I don't care if it's during the middle of the day. I'm taking a day off work to go and see it.
Or the middle of the night, which it probably will be if it's Gotham.
Well, that suits me because I stay up to 3-4 in the morning anyway, as you do know, Stephen. Not through choice.
We'll do a live show. Live from Gotham.
Live from Gotham, yes. Stephen, though, quickly interconnecting into this story, we spoke about a guy who's facing issues bulking up and putting weight on. Now we're talking about a co-star who has no issues putting weight on. It's all about Colin Farrell packing the pounds on for Penguin.
First in the cute Greg's.
He's been hitting the macaroni pies at Greg's. Good Lord. We see him clutching 2 Starbucks coffees, and it looks as though he has cream bulging out of it, so he's clearly hitting the lattes. A man off my own heart. He doesn't look bad, let's be honest. He doesn't. He still looks normal. He looks normal.
Like a normal guy.
Looks like normal weight. So he was ripped out. He's not, as we say here. He's 6-pack, 8-pack. He's put a little bit of weight on. I think that fits the character. Penguin traditionally was
Penguin,
the Penguin, the Pengling, as Benedict Cumberbatch would say, was traditionally quite a fat character. So he's not fat, but he has put weight on. What's your thoughts on these behind the scenes shots of him clutching Starbucks coffees, but the other one with the umbrella, suited and booted.
Yeah, this is the one I'm looking at just now, Johnny. He looks the part, doesn't he?
He really does, yes.
With the Monaco in. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to say he should be fat, because that would be contradicting what I said before. You know, make the character their own. You know, this is a new version of Batman and the characters surrounding this main character. You just got to look at Gotham, and obviously I can't remember the boy's name that played him, double barrel name.
But God, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he took it in a different direction as well, John. I think most people liked
Robin Taylor Lord.
That's
Robin
the one, yeah.
Lord Taylor.
Yeah, that's the one. One of they two, yeah. Or it could be a Lord. That's his title. But you're Lord Robin Taylor. But yeah, I mean, the point I'm making is, everyone accepted him for his physical appearance. It was a performance that won people over, and I think Colin Farrell will do the same.
Yes.
He's a fine actor, and just looking at him dressed up in that picture, obviously I don't know if it's a Photoshop or whatever.
I think some of them are, but there was a behind the scenes shot of him.
That will be very close to, I think, what he'll look like. It's very, in fact, he looks like something from Fantastic Beasts there.
Yeah, he looks like Grindelwald.
Yeah.
Obviously, he wasn't playing Grindelwald, he was playing Anora, who was possessed, transformed or transfigured from Grindelwald. He was in the very shit in that, but really good. And again, much like Penguin in that movie. Penguin. Much like Penguin in that movie. Penguin. Suited and booted and really cool looking. Colin Farrell's a great actor. I loved that guy for many years.
Yeah.
But look, Stephen, I can't wait to see this movie. I've said it time and again, just to see him and Andy Serkis and goddamn Robert Pattinson and Zazie Beetz and it's not even Zazie Beetz, she was in Joker, Zoe Kravitz, they're all blending into one. Just can't wait to see these great actors stepping on board and seeing this movie when it hits the screens. It just can't come quick enough for me. Hopefully by that time we'll have learnt the actual actress's name. But moving on, Stephen, very swiftly, we are doing a joint X-Men topic. First and foremost, it's about the New Mutants.
Yes.
I think we'll have to cut out the last two topics incidentally, because we're running out of time.
Okay.
Well, we might just continue through. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how we feel. But this one's all about the New Mutants director, obviously Josh Boone. He says that this movie is absolutely an X-Men movie, and this is obviously hot off the heels of some speculation that this movie wouldn't be connecting into Fox's X-Men characters and stories, that it was completely discarding all of that, and it may be going forward into a special little place and a purgatory between Fox's X-Men universe and the MCU. What's your thoughts on this, Stephen? Do you think this is a good idea, keeping it stuck to the past, connected to the likes of Magneto and Xavier? Obviously, I don't know if it's McAvoy, it's all of them. McKellen, McAvoy, a lot.
Well, John,
Fassbender.
There was talk about McAvoy appearing in this, as you recall.
Yeah.
He was going to make a cameo. Obviously, that was knocked in the head when the studio was taken over. I think this is just going to be... I don't think this is going to have a follow-up. It's not going to have a sequel or anything. This is going to be a standalone one, unfortunately. I think this is just sort of Disney rounding up all the sort of loose ends and just... The film was almost done anyway, obviously they had to do some reshoots, etc. But and obviously some post-production. But I think it's one of these ones. It's been our most anticipated film for probably 2 years now, because we're so curious to see what they've done with it. Obviously the connections to previous X-Men films, I don't think it's going to be right across the nose. They're going to be winking at the camera and stuff like that. Did you notice that little Easter egg there? I think there'll be a little bits in there that hardcore fans may notice, but
we got it in Deadpool.
Yeah, that was more on the nose. Yeah, but I think Josh Boone's going to say it's going to have an X-Men feel to it. He's promoting the film, and in this quote might have came before Dark Phoenix, to be fair.
I hope not.
Well, I think it sounds like something you'd say before you saw Dark Phoenix.
Yeah. Stephen, look, I've got no issues with it being connected to Fox's X-Men universe. I'm one of the few people out there in the world that seems to have enjoyed those movies. I've got great memories of First Class, was it, with Kevin Bacon. Passed my driving test. That was about 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I remember it well. Wunderbar.
Yes.
And just some great performances. Obviously, Peter Dinklage as Trash, I think it was, or Trask.
In Days of Future Past.
So I really loved that universe. I loved the duology. It was kind of McLaughlin and Stewart, and then we had McAvoy and Fassbender.
Apocalypse.
And Apocalypse, yeah, I've still not seen that, so I have to go back and watch that. That was Oscar Isaac, wasn't it? So yeah, I've got no issues with it connecting, and as you did say, I'd expect this movie to be self-contained, a standalone movie. It's not connecting with the MCU, so go back and connect it with little nods to Fox's universe, and then just let it do what the hell it's got to do afterwards.
Yeah.
Go on to Disney Plus or whatever, or die and just go on to digital market in general. So I've got no issues with it, man. I'm looking forward to the movie. I think if I can speak correctly, tonally it looks very cool.
Yeah.
Different from anything we've seen before. Some would argue we've never seen an actual X-Men movie. We've just seen Mutants movies, and the actual teaming up and having like a proper X-Men experience hasn't happened yet. I'm sure it will happen once Kevin Feige gets his claws into it. But look,
and I think it'll be called Mutants. I don't think they're going to use the X-Men
No,
name.
I think they're scared of that now because of diminishing returns. I think Fox is completely toxic to Disney now.
I
as
think
we've
there's
seen.
a few other reasons as well, John. The title, but
But Stephen, look, moving swiftly on to this little interconnected thing. Patrick Stewart revealed recently that he had spoken with Kevin Feige about Professor X. He says that he met with him a couple of months ago. We had a long conversation, and there has been moves and suggestions which include Charles Xavier. Here's the problem: if we had not made Logan, then yes, I'd probably be ready to get into the wheelchair one more time and meet Charles Xavier. He then goes on to expand how he's got nothing but great memories sitting in the theatre with Hugh Jackman. They were holding hands the final 15-20 minutes of the movie, and it really touched them. They thought, look, we can't better this, and there's no way forward for me to come back to this character, even though he's come back to, obviously, Jean-Luc Picard, so there's always a way. But yeah, what do you think of this? I think this is more a consultation meeting where Kevin Feige's tapping into a truly great acting mind of Patrick Stewart to get some ideas of where he can take that character, where he can take the X-Men going forward into the MCU. I don't think this was ever him.
No.
Do you want to come back and play Charles Xavier again?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on it?
My thoughts are, I think James McAvoy probably did the same thing, picked the phone up and phoned Patrick Stewart before he did First Class, because he's an amazing actor. I think getting him on board as an advisor would be a wise decision. He's 79 now, John. So I don't think physically, he'd be able to portray the role. I know, obviously,
he's in very good shape though. He's in really good shape.
Yeah, but
good Lord, he's ripped.
I understand, and I actually agree with his reasons as well in regards to the way Logan ended up. That was the best way to have those both characters have that sort of swan song, and you're right. I think the last 15 minutes, certainly, when Charles Xavier died as well, that was probably more heartbreaking, I felt, because I think it was the happiest. I think that was the line, wasn't it? This is the happiest I've been in years, or something like that. And then he obviously died. And I think it's, you don't want to ruin that by bringing him back. And also, I think Marvel Studios don't want to. They don't. Let's get back as well, right? Marvel Studios have already come out and said, we're not going to be touching the X-Men or the Mutants for a good few years. So Patrick Stewart's 79 now, John. He'll come on and he'll give them the best advice they can, how to do the role, how to perform and stuff like that. And then it'll be up to them to obviously cast someone. But I don't know. I don't even know if it's... I'm backtracking here, John. I don't know, because with Patrick Stewart's age... and them saying that they don't want to touch these characters for a good decade or so, because they want to, deal with the Fantastic Four, etc. first. I just can't see it. I don't know. I honestly don't know, John, but I think the way they left it was the perfect way.
Yeah, Stephen, look, man, you're probably right. He's 79, he's getting onwards. I can't see him portraying Charles Xavier again into his 80s, but look, he is wheelchair bound, so you never say never. But, yeah... Is he telling a little porky pie, Kevin Feige, when he says that he's got no plans for the X-Men certainly not in the near future. We know Phase 4, but for Phase 5 and beyond, there was rumours that
Patrick Stewart will not be here for Phase 5.
No, I'm not talking about Patrick Stewart. I'm talking about just the X-Men as a whole.
With all due respect.
Yes. No, the X-Men as a whole.
I'll not be here for Phase 5.
No. If Donald Trump gets his way, Stephen, none of us will be here for Phase 5.
Or Phase 4.
Yeah, or Phase 4, yeah. But no, I think that we will see potentially the Eternals spawning a backstory for the X-Men and how mutants were put on the planet.
Well, this is what
and
I'm
then
trying to
that's
say,
a
John.
little insight into how we can get these characters popping up.
You put it a lot better than I could there. I was conscious at the time, obviously the camera coming off, but you're right. I think, they've got a lot of seeds to plant before they even get near these mutants. So what capacity, I don't know. I don't know if this is just the article surmising, that either they were interested in him coming back as Professor X, and surmising obviously he was coming on board as a advisor or whatever they want to call it. I don't know.
I think that's what it was. Definitely a consultation going to telephone, or just a conversation period. I think he just wanted to get into this man's mind, played the character, also hands-on with the Fox interpretation of it, and maybe picked his brain on how not to do the characters, how not to do the movies.
And didn't like McAvoy's performance. Didn't bother asking him.
Yeah, just didn't bother. Like,
yeah.
James didn't even lose his hair the right way, let's be honest. It's someone that's losing their hair. That's not how losing hair works. To quote Harrison Ford, that's not how the Force works. Jesus Christ, there's at least some thinning. Unless you've got alopecia and it just falls out.
Well, obviously, if you've seen the Apocalypse,
I've not seen it.
As explained, so don't worry about it.
Does he lose it in a radioactive attack or something? I don't know. I'll watch it. I'll watch it to find out. But Stephen, look, whatever happens, I'm looking forward to seeing the X-Men coming back at some point. It's just going to be interesting to see who they get into cast as obviously Wolverine and whatnot, because you're going to have a hard time replacing Hugh Jackman, and it's certainly not going to be with Taron Egerton, so they better think very wisely about where they go after that. But look, Stephen, I think we'll quickly jump into this final topic. It's all about Black Widow. I say quickly jump in. It's a long and winded topic from Cosmic Book News, coming via 4chan, which apparently is more credible than Reddit, because they have had their finger on the pulse with a few movies, which include the likes of The Rise of Skywalker, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and The Last Jedi, in terms of leaks and full-on scripts. And someone's gave us a little synopsis of what's going on in this movie. In short, spoiler alert, in case this is right, if you don't want to know about Black Widow, I personally don't care, I'll be watching it anyway.
Yes.
They essentially say that this is like a Mission Impossible sequel with Black Widow replacing Ethan Hunt, and that it works better than you'd expect. She's excommunicated, hunted by the government, gets this thing so life can go back to normal, and then she realises there's a grander conspiracy, hands it over to her sister, obviously Florence Pugh, and has to deal with the consequences. It's got lots of action, Taskmasters flip-flopping all over the place, Rachel Weisz, as I expected in the trailer, as nefarious shit who flips to the antagonist at some point in the movie. I don't know if this is correct, I hope it's not in a way, because they say that David Harbour's Captain, whatever the hell it is, Red Captain, I can't recall the name of it, they say he's a joke in it, he's played for laughs and he's the weakest thing in the movie. But all in all, I hope, part of me hopes it is right, because it sounds like it's actually quite an exhilarating movie, and I'd love to see a sort of Mission Impossible meets the MCU, because I'm a big fan of the Mission Impossible movies, and I think Scarlett Johansson's a perfect fit to play that all-out action hero role. She's proven time and again in the MCU she can do it. So what's your thoughts on this? Would you like to see this?
Well, that's what I expect to see, John. I think it's interesting as well the amount of cameos that are going to appear in this film. Like say Hawkeye, I think we already knew. Nick Fury makes sense. Obviously Sonny Butch from Ant-Man and the Wasp, played by Walton Goggins. I thought he was a great character, and I want to see him back.
It's not really a cameo though.
Yeah, we'll talk about the other cameo in a little moment, because I know that's the final article, John. But it's interesting, and there is a bit in the article as well, that they are going to obviously pay respect to the character at the very end. It's going to fast forward to present day with, I think, Hawkeye and his family attending the funeral, because obviously that's something we didn't get in Endgame. I think the reason for that, John, was obviously there were so many endings to sort of tie up, with obviously Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. It makes sense, and we already knew even before Endgame came out that we were getting a Black Widow movie. I don't know if it was confirmed at that point, but it was heavily hinting that we were going to get a standalone.
But yeah, you're right.
So we were all prepared for that anyway. Pretty much the same, when obviously Han Solo was killed off in The Force Awakens. We knew we were going to get a standalone film for Solo anyway, so it was trying to soften the blow. It didn't, but they were trying their best. But yeah, the other final cameo, John, that we can talk about is obviously Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark. I did like this line. Some of them work better than others. Stark's scene felt like Leia in Rise of Skywalker. I hope it's not like that.
Oh God, why would that be the case? He's not dead.
No.
There's no excuses for that. They can bring him in and shoot it. But I do like the idea of him helping her in the events post Civil War.
Makes sense, wouldn't it?
Because she is getting hammered with the government more than most because of her past links to also the Soviet Union and whatnot. So yeah, that's intriguing. He gives her a little boost to get away and do things that she has to do. So yeah, I mean, I'm not against seeing Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Tony Stark again. I don't think he's done with Tony Stark, Stephen. It was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He says that he is done unless something remarkable happens that changes his mind. I think he'll be back, certainly after the flop of Doolittle. I think he will absolutely be back. I think he'll be playing a Jarvis AI sort of thing. I think they'll do a neat reveal where he somehow transferred his consciousness into an AI system via his suit, and he will be back sooner rather than later. But this may be the last fully formed Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. And I hope it ain't like Princess Leia in Rise of Skywalker, because good lord, that was so noticeable. And why would that even be the case? Strange.
I think the best way to handle this character, John, is the way they handled him in Homecoming, I think it was.
Yeah, he was in the suit.
A lot of people thought that it was, overshadowing obviously the main character in that film.
I didn't think so at all. I disagree with that.
Yeah, I think in the trailers, John, but there was obviously that concern. I don't think that will be the case here. Obviously, it's going to be cameo. I think you might get a couple of minutes out of him, and it'll probably some pivotal point where she needs some help or advice or something like that. He'll step in, but it makes sense that the character's going to be around somewhere. He's a big character. He's got a big part to play in that world, so it wouldn't make any sense that he wasn't there.
Steve, the final thing I would add was a couple of things. I'm really intrigued to see where this movie goes in terms of multiple timelines. There's talk that it goes back to the 90s or something when she's younger. Then part of it takes place after Civil War. That would probably be where Robert Downey Jr. comes in.
Yeah.
Maybe it helps her escape and then it goes back and shows you her journey or whatnot. I don't know. I'm really intrigued for it though. Can't wait to see Scarlett Johansson off the back of Marriage Story, which I just watched recently. I thought it was wonderful. Her performance, and also Jojo Rabbit. She's at the prime of her game just now. Probably the best actress in Hollywood. But certainly, going back to Robert Downey Jr. one final time, he addressed the rumours and says that he wishes essentially that somebody would have told him, notified them, forewarned is forearmed, essentially saying he doesn't know anything about it. But come on, he's not going to come out and say, yes, I'm in it, I'm in the movie. Let's just get that out there to everybody. That's ruining the surprise. You want a pop when you go to the theatre and see this, just like you've seen pops with other characters. I mean, there wasn't a pop when Han Solo came back in Rise of Skywalker, but it was a special moment seeing him once again. And there's been other examples of that in other movies.
We've seen Hugh Jackman making cameo appearances in the newer X-Men films as well.
That one in the bar.
Yeah, exactly. I want to forget the one that's in Apocalypse, because it was just not needed. It was as if they need him back one more time just to save the film,
Just having him on the credit list and puts about $20 billion or $20 million in the coffers.
Yeah.
But look, Stephen, I don't know if you've got anything more to add.
Not, no.
It is what it is, and we'll see what happens. If Robert Downey Jr. comes, then he comes, and if he doesn't, then that's just life. But look, guys, that's going to round up today's MBE Heroes. What's your thoughts on Morbius? Do you think he will be part of the MCU? Or do you think he's in a sort of halfway house, sort of purgatory, blade in between effort? What the hell do you think about Spider-Man 3 being filmed in Iceland? Will Craven come? Will we see the Sinister Six? What's your thoughts on Robert Pattinson? Is he too goddamn skinny? Will he appear in Glasgow in the middle of the night outside Greg's wearing a Batman suit? And what's your thoughts on the New Mutants and Robert Downey Jr. and goddamn Black Widow? If you've got anything to say at all, you can comment below. Let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. You can subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. And if you do, then you'll see us again for shows, reviews, reaction videos, and a little bit of everything in between.